So the first topic is authorization. So first let us discuss about authentication. Okay, so authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a user. Okay, so you generally see whenever you try to log into any social media application or banking application, first you have to log in. Okay, by giving username or email or mobile number. Okay, like these fields, and as a security, you have to enter your password or OTP or biometric authentication. So this process is called as authentication. Okay. So using this process, you can restrict some pages. So those pages will be accessible only through login. Okay. So this type of process is called as authentication. Okay. So examples are logging into social media applications or banking applications. Okay. So this process is called as authentication. The next one is authorization. So authorization is the process of granting or restricting access rights and permissions. Okay. So in the previous, we have discussed about authentication. Authentication is verifying about your identity. Okay. So whether you have an account and whether you have entered the correct username and correct password. Okay. Authorization is so after you log in, so you will have some restriction accesses, permissions and rights. Okay. So that can be achieved using authorization. Okay. So for example, user logged into an application. Okay, so there are different types of users in this particular application. For example, admin, okay, staff, student. Okay, so like this, three types of users are there in this particular application. Okay, so authorization is the process of, so for each user you will have some restrictions. Okay, so for example, if you have admin user, so you will have all the access to data. Okay, so he can control all the users data in your application. Okay, so staff will have some allotted users data access. Okay, so this particular student will have only self data. Okay, so he can access only this particular student data. Okay, so like this you have some restriction access restrictions and permissions. Okay, so this can be this process of achieving this type of restrictions restrictions of access rights and permissions is called as authorization. Okay, so the first step where you log into the application is called as authentication. Okay, so this process of restricting user access or data access or feature access is called as authorization. Okay, so the key differences of authentication and authorization is that authentication verifies identity. Okay, authorization determines access rights. So this happens first and followed by authorization. Okay, so authentication is about user and authorization is about user permissions. Okay, so this is the difference between authentication and authorization. Okay, so the next topic we have to understand is decorators. So we have already seen decorators while designing APIs. So I said I will explain in the next class. Okay, so decorator is a function that takes another function as an argument and returns a new function. So that usually extends or modifies the behavior of the original function. Okay, so by definition, it is actually difficult to understand, but you can understand it as so a decorator. Whenever you apply a decorator to a particular function, so you are literally passing that particular function to the decorator. Okay, so the decorator will accept your function as an argument. So you can do any pre-tasks or post-tasks before actually calling that particular function. Okay, before executing that function, so you can perform a optional pre-task or post-task. Okay, it's like if you want to check something before executing a particular function, or you want to perform some particular action after performing a particular function, you can do that using decorators. Okay, so a decorator is a function that takes another function as an argument. Okay, and returns a new function that will extends or modifies the original function. Okay, so decorators are applied using at the rate symbol. Okay, so in the previous APIs, in the APIs session, we have applied API view as decorator to our views, right? So that it will convert your particular view into an API request. Okay, so now decorators are applied. For example, if you take a function like add function, okay, so this will return a plus b. Okay, so this is a normal function, but I want to do some pre-check. Okay, so I want to apply a decorator to this called as pre-check. Okay, so now what actually happens is, so this function will be passed as a argument to this particular decorator. Okay, so this actual decorator will be as another function. So this function, this FUNC is the argument that it will accept as a, that it accept this function as an argument. Okay, so in this function you can do some pre-task. Okay, and you can execute this function. Okay, and you can do, after executing this function, so you can do post task. Okay, so whenever you call this particular function like add 1 comma 2, so what actually happens is, so this function will be, just a second, I have to take a call. So whenever I call this particular add one add one to function, so what actually happens is, so it will be passed as a argument to this particular function, which is precheck, because I applied the decorator as precheck. So to this particular function, so in this this function will be passed as an argument. Okay, so in this, if you want, you can do any pre-task, like whether checking this a comma b or positive numbers or not. Okay, so like that you can check any pre-checks, and then you can successfully execute the actual function. And then if you want, you can perform any post task like successfully executed, or if you want to clean some data or anything. Okay, based on the requirement. This is a just example. At the high level, there are several examples, like doing some pre-task like cleaning data, and post task like deleting data. So based on database deleting, like that you do in real time work, real time examples. Okay, for in this particular example, so I'm simply saying that, so you can perform some pre tasks, and you can execute the actual function, and you can execute the post task. Okay, all these are optional. Okay, so this pre task or post task is optional, but whenever you are calling, whenever you are attaching the decorator, so you're either doing some pre-task or post-task before this particular function. Okay, so that's the purpose of decorators. Okay, so in our APS example, so we have applied API view as decorator, right? So in this, so this particular decorator, what is doing is it's converting as a, so it's converting our normal function to a API request. Okay, and it is accepting only get type of request. Okay, whatever the request you are mentioning in this particular API view. So it is making sure that whether you have sent get request or not. Okay. So whenever you make an API request to this particular API, so that API request will be passed to this API view, and it will check the pre-task as whether the requested request is get request or not. Okay, so if it is a GET request, so it will execute the actual our view function. Okay, else you get, so the request method is not allowed as output. Okay, so for that for this kind of purposes, we use decorators. Okay, so in our purpose, in this authentication purpose, we use decorators to check whether user is logged in or not. Okay, so in this example, we use a decorator called as login required. Okay, so what does this decorator does is, so whenever you apply this particular login required decorator to your functions, okay, so it will check whether user is logged in or not. Okay, so if user is logged in, only then it will allow you to access this particular view, else it will say, so you are not logged in. Okay, so you are supposed to log. Okay, so for that purpose we use decorators. Okay, so decorators are used to some to do some pre-task and post-task before executing the actual function. Okay, so these are called as decorators. So let us see a example of how to create authentication in Django. Okay, let's create a new project. So here I'm creating an app called as accounts. Account manager startup accounts. Um, If you forgot to activate virtual environment, it is activated. Okay, I think I didn't install. Okay, and also I'm creating account as blog apps. Okay, so I have created two apps. One is accounts and the other one is blog. Okay, so in this now let me add this accounts and blog to the installed apps. Okay, so let me create URLs for each app. Okay, so I have created both URL files. Let me link those URL files to our admin as well. So for blog, I am giving default URL. Okay, for account, I'm giving a subpath called as account, or let us use this as user. So whatever you want, you can give to the subpath. Okay, so now we have everything. Let us start. Okay, so it is successfully running. So now let us do our initial migration. So we have seen that the Django automatically creates user module, user table in the database. So whenever you apply the initial migration, so those tables will be automatically created. You don't have to create an additional table. So if you want to modify the table contents of user, then you can create your own user module that I will show in the final project. So for now, let us go with the default user table that will be created in your database. So that to create that, you have to first apply the initial migration. Python manage.py make migrations. There will be no such Python manage.py. Okay. So no changes detected. So now you can migrate. So you can see these are the contents that I created. To check the database, you can see these are the all the tables that created by default. Okay, so we didn't create them. We didn't create these tables manually. So because we didn't do any models in our apps. Okay, so all these tables are automatically created by the Django. So here the table used for authentication is auth underscore user. Okay, so this particular table holds values like ID, password, last login, is super user, username, last name, okay, email, okay. So email, is staff, is active, date join, first name. Okay, so these are the fields that are automatically created in the user model. Okay, so now let us use the table to create users for our app. So now in the previous projects, we have made base templates for each app, right? For each app templates for in the template folder, we have created a base template for base file. Okay, so that base file should be a separate file for each app. Okay, so instead of a base file for each app, we can create a base file for our entire application. So that base file will be can be imported to any application in your project. Okay, so to create that, you have to create a template folder in your project directory, base directory. Okay, so instead of creating you should also create template folder in your apps. But now to create a common base file for your entire project, so you have to create a template folder in your project base directory. Okay, so in this templates, okay, so in this templates you can create base.html. Okay, so which will include like okay. You'll have some the actual content of your pages. So here we will define the navigation bar. So in this navigation bar, let us go with, let us worry about the URLs later. Just create tags. So you need login, register, file, logout. Okay, so these are the all the possible uh, URLs of your application. Okay, so if you want, you can add Bootstrap as well. So for now, let us focus on the basic things. Okay, so this is a common base file of your entire application. To effect this as a common base file of your entire application, you have to make some changes in your settings. So you go to settings. So you already know what base directory is. So base directory is the path, it holds the path of your project. Okay, so which is, so this will hold the path of this actual base project directory. Okay, so this is the base directory path. So now you have to scroll down, and in this scroll down, we have this templates settings. Okay, so in this some template settings, we have this directory with empty list. So in this directory, so you have to mention base dir. Okay, so which is the variable that present at the top. You have to mention slash templates. Okay, so this will get you the actual directory of your common directory of your templates. Okay, so by this, and you can mention login, redirect URL. So let us worry about these things after creating views. So now let us focus on creating views. Okay, now go to blog page. So in this, we'll create a single view called as home. So in this, you will create blog.home.html. Okay. So for that, in blog app, you have to create a templates folder. So in templates folder, you have to create blog. So in this blog, you'll create home.html. Okay. So you can extends base.html. Okay. And the title blog title homepage. Okay, and they will have the actual content. So in this, you will display as homepage format. Okay, so this is your home page. Let us link this home page to your URL patterns. So for home page, let us give the default URL. So if you're on the project, now if you refresh, so you get home page and you can see all the available URL names at the top end. So which means base file is successfully linked to this home page. Okay. So now let us develop other views for registration and the login. Yes,
Sir,
Satya.
after giving that command line path homepage, we have to save that command line, sir, or not?
Sorry, command line.
Yes, sir. Homepage we are given, sir.
You have to save every file. Whatever the make changes you are making on any file, you have to save it. Then only the changes will be affected.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
If you edit any page, you have to save. Then only the changes will be affected on your website.
Okay, sir.
So you can see if I didn't save, so you can see this dot symbol on these tabs. Okay. So I will press automatically Control S. So that's why so that dot symbol will be gone. Okay. So every time whenever I make changes to any page like settings or anything, so I will save by pressing Control S so that those changes will be affected. Else you will get you
Okay.
else you do some coding and you expect another output, but you won't get any output without saving.
Yes, okay, sir.
Okay. So now in the registration views, in the views of account, so I have opened accounts page. So in this you have views. So in this views, let me import some automatic form generations of authentication. Auth forms, import user creation form. Okay. And so in this register request, so if request dot method equal to post, so which means if I try to register a new user, form is equal to user creation form request dot post. Okay. So if form is valid, form dot save return redirect to login. So import redirect and redirect to login, which it will be automatically mapped to login URL. So login and registration URLs are very automatically created, but if you want to make any customizations, you can do that as well. So it's else questions. Okay, so if post request, you will get you will accept the data and you will save the data into database. If get request, which means if you are requesting a registration page, then you will get an form. Okay, so now let's create a template for this. So in this, let me create register.html. So for this, let's copy the homepage settings, homepage template, notepad. In the registration page, I will copy this register, and in the homepage area, so I will mention as register page, and I will make a form with method as post cs token and dot as p. Okay, and we should have a submit button. Right, submit. Okay, so if you mention type as submit only, then only your form data will be submitted. So if you simply create a button and if you're trying to submit, your form will not submit the data to the particular view. Okay, so you have to mention type is equal to submit of your button, then only the form data will be submitted. Okay, so now this is your register page. So let us add this to URLs of your accounts. For this, let us add a register as support. So here I imported a register. So this is the registration URL. Okay, so you logins for URLs for login and logout will be automatically generated from the Django itself. So to use them, we have to include them as well. So to include them, let me import include and with the input path and include Django contrib dot URLs. So this settings will add automatic login and logout to your app. So let us check. So we check for user register. Okay, so you get registration form. So which is asking for username, password, and password confirmation. So now if we try to access login, that does not exist. config URL user accounts accounts registration registration. Let me do this. So instead of having this URL, let me manually add the URL. So at user, let me include. Okay, and let me manually import count dot view import register. Okay, so here I will manually add the registration path like user register register name equal to register. So here I manually, so instead of creating URLs in this particular URL page for this app, directly created the URLs in, I can delete this URL space. So I have directly created the URLs in the config itself for this account. Okay. So with subpath URL user, I have added the automatic URLs like login and logout. So let me check for confirmation. Okay, so instead of this using manual, so there is some issue with using this automated login and logout. So let us do this manually. So let us implement views for login and logout as well. So to implement login URL, use the login request, request dot method equals post. So username equal to post dot post. So here I'm manually reading the field names of our forms. Password equal to post dot post password. So to authenticate the user, whether you have to import modules like from Django dot contract dot import authentication, and we need a login as well. So here, by calling this authentication method, we will pass the required methods like request username equal to username, password equal to password. So it will check whether there is a user with this particular username. So if there is a user, then it will check whether the given username and password matches or not. Okay. So if user, okay, so if there is a user in the database and they successfully verified, so now login. So this login method, what it does is it will create a cookie. Okay, cookie is like a temporary storage in your browser. It will store the session of your login. Okay, so it will store like from when you are logged in. Okay, whether you are logged in or not. So those details will be stored in your database. Sorry, in your browser. Okay, so that storage will be created by calling this method. Calling this method. Okay, login request user will create a cookie in your browser so that it will know whether there is a user logged or not. Okay, now return redirect. So after successfully logging in, so we have to redirect to some page, right? So let's call it as profile page, so which we not yet created. Else, if you have entered wrong detail like username or password, or there is no user with the given name. So in that case, you can return to return back to, in that case, let us show the login page only. Render render just login the history. Okay. So if you are not moving from that particular page, so which means you have entered wrong login details. Okay. If you have successfully entered the correct details, then it will redirect to your actual page. So let us create a view for this. You can copy this and paste here, change the register to login. So here we are not generating automated form. So instead, generating a normal HTML form plus HTML input field, type text, name, username, placeholder, username. If you don't want labels, go with the legislative. Okay, no placeholder. So next one is, so here we are storing password. So here we have to mention type as password so that whenever you enter something in that inbox, it will turn into hidden code. Okay, so it will show dots instead of showing entire password to other users. So here we have to worry about these types. Okay, so type text in the sense, so that text will be normally displayed whenever you change type to password. So the entered data will be immediately changed back to a dot or star symbol. Okay, so like this, let's create a simple form. So let us link this form to, okay, so like this I have created a, okay, so now if you check user.login, okay, so in the view I have not linked it properly. So in the view, this is in register account. So this is, you can see login and username. You want the string to be in a single different lines. You can use simple for each line. Okay, so this is a login page which will be asking the username and a password. So here you can see, so whatever I enter, so it will be displayed as a secret. So because we have mentioned type as password. Okay, so this is login form, and we have already made registration. So let us link them to. So this is the registration form. So and there is one more view which is profile. The blog. We have to make another view. So instead of in before that, profile. Okay, so profile. Let me display user. What not profile. Okay. So far we have created all the views and URL as well. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So in the common base file, let us add all these URLs. So for home page, the URL is home. Okay. For profile page, profile. For logout, we so here import logout as well. In the logout URL, that we do is logout dot open redirect. So here, this logout method will remove the cookie previously created by this login method. Okay. So this login method will create a cookie in the your browser so that it will store a particular user is logged in. So this logout method will delete that cookie so that there will be no user data stored in your browser so that it will know that there is no user currently logged in. So in the base.html, so for logout, user logout, for login, user login, for register, register. Okay, so these are the all the URLs. And to go and refresh, no reserve match at user register, reserve for user logout not found. Just a mistake, I guess. Log out. Okay, so these are the all the URLs. If you click on home, it will go to the home page. Profile, hello user. Let's click on logout. So if you click on logout, it will redirect to home page. Login, will show login page. Registration, register, will show register. Okay, but there is a flaw in this. So it will any site will not display all the sites at a time, right? So whenever if you log in, so you won't get this login and register again. Okay, so if you already log in into the website, you won't get login and register. Okay, and if you are log out of that particular website, you won't get this logout and profile. Okay, because if you can't access your profile without logging into your Facebook, right? So because so here these two are these two should become when you are logged in. Okay. So these two should be displayed when you are logged out. Okay. So only when you are logged out you are able to log in or register for a new account, right? So you have to restrict the display of these items based on your login status. So if you log in, you can access your profile and you can log out. Okay. So without login, you can't do logout, right? So that's why these two cannot be displayed while you are logged out. Okay, and home can be displayed on any page. It's like landing page of your application, which is like first page of your website. Okay, profile page is your personal page. It should be displayed only when you're logged in. Okay, and logout should be displayed only when you're logged in. Okay, so then you can log out. And this login and registration page should be displayed only you are not logged into that particular page. Okay, so let's do that. First, let us create an user using registration. So Ramesh, password. So it has some password rules. So, okay. So now reserve match, reserve login. Okay. So here redirect method I have mentioned login type, but I should mention it as so after successful registration here I should mention user login, user URL name. Okay, so after successfully creating the user, it tried to redirect to the login user. Okay, so after successful registration, so if it login into that account, right? So it have tried to redirect to login page, but I have given wrong name for this URL, so that's why it got like this. But if you can check whether the user is created in database or not by visiting database, in the database you have this user underscore user table. So in this table, you can see the data. So you have created a password, Ramesh, username, and you have got is active, date of join, which is today. Okay. So all these are created. So here if you observe, your password will be encrypted because admin or any user can't see your password, right? So if if you can see password in your database like this, anybody can log in into your website, right? So that's why your password will be automatically encrypted. Here I just entered a 8-digit password while creating account, but it will be encrypted using some encryption technology so that it cannot be read by anybody or it cannot be decrypted by anybody. Okay, only our Django application can decrypt this particular password and read. Okay, so nobody can understand this password, so that's why it will be automatically encrypted while creating users. Okay, so now I have created a user with name as Ramesh. Okay, so now to log in into this particular application, so go to login page. So enter the details as Ramesh and enter the password. Press enter. So after pressing enter, so it is redirecting to profile page. Okay. So now user is logged in. Okay. So successfully that cookie is created in your browser. Okay. So to check whether a particular user is logged in or not, there is a condition. Okay. So which you can check. Just a second. So go to this new page. So right now I'm in profile page, right? So to check whether user is logged in or not, you can check the condition using. So user the after login, there is a user variable will be ready to access. Okay, so using this user variable, you can access all your user record fields. Okay, so whatever the fields that are present in this particular user, okay, so you can access all these fields. Okay, so using user variable. Okay, so user variable will be ready to access if you are logged into your account. Okay, so here you can check whether user is authenticated or not using this code. Okay, so user authenticated, so you will get true or false. So here we got true, right? Here you can see answer as true. So if I press on log out, so that data will be deleted. Okay, now if I try to access profile, so here you get false. right? Because so user authenticated is false because I have pressed the logout button. Okay, so now let me log in again. So now we are getting true. Okay, so now using the same command, let us restrict these URLs. Okay, so if login, we should display profile and logout. Okay, if you are logged out, then you should display login and reach. Okay, so to do that, go to base.html. So now here use if condition. If user is authenticated, okay, display these two URLs. Okay, else display these two URLs. Okay, whether user logged in or not, you can display home page. Okay, so that's why I have not included this in this condition only. Now if you go and refresh here, so here we can see only profile and logout and home page. Okay, because currently user is logged in. Okay, so like this we can see. Okay, so now in the profile page, instead of hello user, let us display your username. Okay, so that can be possible using. So as I said, you can access all the username elements. You can access user.username. So which will give the username of currently logged in user. Okay, so now refresh, so you will get Ramesh. So I'm using a filter to make the first letter as capital, the title filter. So it is displaying as hello Ramesh in your profile. Okay, home page, profile. So now if you press log out, so you can see you can access only home login register because you can't access profile page because you are not currently logged in. But if you can access profile page by typing manually, right? So here I getting hello, but there is no username because there is no user is currently logged in. Okay, and here you can getting false. Okay, so let us remove that false. So we should restrict this page access as well, right? So you should be able to access this profile page only while you logged in. Okay. So to restrict the page access, so you have to import login required decorator. So go to blog, in the blog views, import from django.com at that decorators, import login required. Okay. So simply add at the rate login required decorator. So this decorator will check whether before executing this view, so it will check whether the user is logged in or not. Okay, if not login, so we should mention login failed URLs in the settings. Okay, so in the settings, so mention login redirect URL, which is home logout. Sorry, after successful login, let us go to profile. So since we are doing manual login, it's not an issue. Logout also we are doing manually. So URL, after successful logout, you should redirect to home page and login URL. So login URL is user login. So here I'm mentioning the names of our URLs. Okay. So this will be helpful when there is a condition failed. So here, if user currently logged into the application, then only you can access profile. Okay. So in the previously, if there is no decorator, we can access the profile page by manually typing in our profile in our browser. Okay. So now if I try to access this page, So I'm redirecting to login page. Okay. So because I'm not able to access profile page because I had added a decorator called as login required. Okay. So if I remove this decorator, okay, and now if I try to access profile, I can access it. Okay. So I'm getting hello. So there is no user. So I'm not getting any user data. Okay. But if I add this decorator, so I can't access this page from anywhere. Okay, so now if I refresh, so it would automatically redirect to login page because that particular profile page required a login to access. Okay, so now if I access login, so now it will redirect to profile page and it will display hello Ramesh. Okay, home page, profile page. Okay, so now if I press log out, it will redirect to home page. Now I can't access profile page. Okay, so if I try to access profile page, it will redirect to login because so this particular page requires login to access. Okay, so like this you can restrict uh, access to your pages using these decorators. Okay, so in any web application there will be pages that should be restricted to users like login only, right? So like editing your profile, changing profile picture, all those can be happen after login into your application, right? So anybody can't just access your profile and edit those changes, right? So that made possible by this authentication and this separation using this kind of techniques. Okay, so you can apply this decorator to logout as well. So to do logout, first you have to log in. So that's why you can apply same decorator to logout as well. Okay, so like this you can do view restriction using based on the conditions. Okay, so this is a simple login application demo for creating login based websites in Django. Okay, so any doubts? So let me register one more user, Mahesh, register. So after registration successfully transferred to the login page. So in this, I will type Mahesh and I will try to log in. So now I will log into Mahesh profile. Okay, so here I get hello Mahesh instead of hello Ramesh because this is Mahesh login. Okay, so if you check the database, the two users will be created in your database. Okay, so here previously only one user, so now two users are created. You can see this password is encrypted. Okay, so usernames are Ramesh and Mahesh. Okay, so like this you can create users and you can restrict access to use using login required decorator. Okay, so practice this in these 2 days. So on Monday we'll start our final project. So that final project will be like a social media application where you can log in into application and follow other users and you can comment and like on those users. So in the project, we'll implement all the topics we have discussed so far, like uh, all the relationships we have discussed. Okay, and APIs, we'll use APIs for likes and comments to run them in background. Okay, and we will use this authentication process to implement login system. Okay, so after completion of the project, we will deploy that project into a server. So with that, our course will be completed. So next week is the final week in our course. Okay. So in these 2 days, practice this authentication process. If you have any doubts, ask me on Monday.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.